Yep, we're recording. Smooth. Hi everyone. Well, it's Raincloud here. For once, not on my own, but joined by a legend among us, Mr. Fly. How's it going, man?
Going great. Good morning to you.
Good morning to you. It's 8:30 a.m. in Japan, and what time is it over there?
7:30 p.m.
At the end of a long
Got
week.
back to work a couple hours ago, and you're already on your weekend. It's kind of
That's
cool.
right. That's how we roll in Tokyo. So we've been trying to get together on this for a few months now. You floated the idea of a dual com of some kind, like 6, 7 months ago, I guess.
It was a long time. I've been slacking. It's kind of my fault with the delay,
I
but
think
now we're here. RaincLoud has figured out how to record this thing, and hopefully it'll turn out all right for you
Yeah,
guys.
I've downloaded a sweet free trial of a recording software, like the high roller I am. We're both thinking it'd be cool to do a live com of some kind at some point, but for now we're gonna keep it simple. I'll probably put some sort of gameplay up if I can summon any in the next week or so. But anyway, what are you up to these days on Geometry Wars? Like I tried playing for the first time in ages the other night, and it was brutal. Like
Yeah,
1.4 billion was the best I could manage, and I was practically crying by the end.
that tends to be a pretty consistent pattern for me too. I mean, ever since Silverlord went and hit his 20 billion, I've tried my hand at a few other worlds. It's like, I just don't know if I can do that, And with Geometry Wars 3 coming out and not really knowing what kind of gameplay you're going to have with that game, it's like I gotta work on my right thumb a little bit, see if I can shoot some things instead of just fly around aimlessly and
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
whatnot. So I tried my hand at some Deadline, some Evolved, as you know. I don't play as much as I used to, but
Mm.
it's making some small progress. Almost had 100 million in Deadline not too long ago.
Yeah, I saw on
Um,
the Geometry Wars forum you mentioned, what was it, 98 million?
98, yeah. And since then I've hit a 95 too. I'm trying to hold off hitting the 100 until I can record a little bit.
Yeah. I had a dream the other night. I had a dream that I hit 200 million in deadline, which, considering my high score was 39, is kind of unlikely. But I think it was
Yeah,
because I saw your score, it was on my
I
mind.
would I would hope that's a premonition. That'd be awesome. Raincloud coming out of nowhere with a
Yeah,
200 million.
maybe. But it's funny you mentioned the Silverlord video, the 20 billion one. Like, kind of the same here. Once, when I saw that, like, first he had the 1 minute video, the
Yeah,
teaser for the final post, what was it, 15 billion stage or something. And then the 7 minute beast. After that, it's hard to take the mode kind of seriously anymore.
I know. I went back to playing Pacifism a little while a couple weeks ago. Been halfway consistent, and I go on and I hit like a 4 billion, a 5 billion. I'm really happy with myself. And then
Yeah.
you look at the leaderboards, and it's almost trivialized now. It's
Yeah.
like 20 billion. Are you serious?
That's a good word for it. Very good word. Trivialized. And you look at it, and it's not even a quarter of what you need to be getting at this stage. And I don't know. Obviously, Concluded Fever seems to have some kind of a strategy. Do you
Well, I
see?
think I think he's onto something. If you're gonna beat Silver, you can't beat Silverlord at his own game. I mean, he's obviously the best
Yeah.
as far as movement's concerned. He can survive in the slowdown mode in one game longer than I've experienced slowdown in my entire lifetime of playing Geometry
And he even
Wars.
mentioned, I think, I mean, he is Neo. Like, the slow motion is something that helps him, he said. I mean, not
Yeah,
necessarily all
gives
the
him more
time,
time
but
to
in
think, I
that
guess.
situation, he seemed to find it, he thrived under it. And I mean, the first
Yeah,
hint of
I mean,
slowdown, and I give up. I just turn left and fly straight into the cloud.
yeah, I'm the same way. I think if you're rocking a brain like the Silver Lord and you get that much extra time to think, you're obviously going to make the right decision. But for me, I get to that point and my hands are shaking and I'm starting to freak out. It's
Yeah,
like I just lose control.
yeah. So
And
clearly, for the
I don't
likes of
know if
us,
it,
then thinking is our enemy. So we
yeah,
can't
that's right.
we can't beat Silverlord. So, and the Fever has a very different strategy, right?
Going for the geom. That's what I've noticed going back the past couple of weeks. I seem to be obsessed with trying to match or at least halfway match his pace.
I'm really glad to
So
hear that because I feel embarrassed how whenever somebody puts up a big score, when you did it, and then when you put up a video shortly after your 12, when the Silver Lord did it, when Fever did it, I just can't help but try and copy whatever I think is working. So I
Yeah,
mean,
that's right.
going from the extremes of the Silverlord's method to the Fever. So recently, I've even been doing stuff I don't understand. Like I was destroying gates in the corner, which I never normally do, because Fever does it.
I noticed that in your last video. You went over and there were like 5 gates in the corner, no blues around, you just could fly right through. I'm like, huh,
At this point, it's
that's
just
interesting.
superstition. If it works
I
for
do the
him, then it's
exact
going to
same
work for
thing.
me.
But of course, it doesn't work for me. So I'm sitting here super happy with the 4 billion, and they're both cranking out 10 plus, and I don't know
It's
it's
it's really remarkable his GM collection. Like the last video he put up had 12, a mere 12 point something billion.
right.
He had 20,000 geom at 17.9 billion.
Or
Wait,
7.9.
yeah,
Yeah.
sorry, yes, 7.9 billion, yeah. And partly he's doing it by going really, really deep into the cloud when he's hitting the gates.
Hmm.
But that alone isn't going to make up that kind of crazy jump. I mean, at 17, sorry, at 7 billion, I'm normally happy with, I guess, 14,000 probably, 14, 15. No, 15 to 16,000 is good.
16, that's about where I'm at too. I've never hit 20,000 geom ever. Like,
Now, 18
even
was
with
my highest, I
my
think.
12, I think I may have topped out at 18 or 19.
Yeah,
And he's sitting there at 7.9, cracking the 20 billion
yeah,
barrier, the 20,000 barrier.
yeah. It's like he's got so
I
much
think,
ammo just cranked into his shotgun there. And once it
yeah,
comes together, he could be 20 billion with that kind of
definitely.
GM.
Yeah, you factor in all those extra geom and you make those deep hits in the cloud like he does late in the game, and that
Yeah.
score just skyrockets.
And I think also
I think,
he's got a way. I think it's more than just the diving into the clouds, but also he's got a
mhm.
way of moving, which is so effective at shepherding the blues. And I don't really understand what's happening, to be honest. Let's get that out there right away.
I think he makes those deep dives and then he like circumnavigates the blues very closely,
Yeah,
so he can like go all the way around for any of the pack of green that he's missed.
yeah. And I feel
Doing
like
that very
he very
consistently
rarely
throughout his whole
wastes.
run, I think,
Yeah,
yeah, it just racks up and he's good to go. So yeah, I've noticed when I go back to play, I'm trying to replicate that kind of style, and it just, I don't know. I feel like I'm still getting better,
yeah,
but I'm getting better at different styles of play. Like
yeah,
I have to figure out how to go back to what was working for me when I got my high score and
yeah,
try and build on that. Um, but yeah, if you're gonna beat that 20 billion that Silverlord threw up, you got to do something different. Like no one's gonna survive in that prolonged slowdown like he does. So it's either gonna be through geom collection or something else. Letting the gates build up an insane amount, or I don't know. I know he takes them out pretty consistently to give himself extra room to move. But when I do that, I don't know how to move as well as he does.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's kind
That's
of a give
exactly
or
it.
take.
So sometimes I'll be trying to do that. I'll be conscious of not of if I see gates are building up on the left hand side of the screen, then I'll make an effort to go over there. But it's that's so against the things that were strong about my game, like not
Yep.
dragging the blues to different parts of the screen. But it's just it's dismantling my game, and then I'm left with a vastly inferior version of somebody else's game.
Yep, I found the same thing, and that's why I went and dabbled in some of the other modes. 'Cause I'm like, you know what, I need to take a break. I'm done with this pacifism thing. This 20 billion is making me feel bad about myself, and even more so are my pitiful 2 billion runs that I'm trying to compete with.
Yeah, this is this
So,
is this is the thing. Like the worst thing that can happen to me in a pacifism session is if I'm trying to copy someone else's game and I try for like 2 hours, getting increasingly angry, and by the end I just hate myself, and I've hit like I say 1.4 billion or something. But this is getting kind of dark, so that actually brings me to a question I've been wanting to ask you for a long time actually, because things may seem bleak for us right now. But in the past, we've both been high rollers. I mean, you much more recently than me, much higher than me. What I wanted to ask was, you spent quite a long time stuck on your pacifism score, as I remember. What was it, 8 billion-ish at first, and then like 9.8 or something.
yeah, I was at 8-9 for a long time.
That's 8. I remember seeing that on my leaderboard for so long, knowing you
Yeah.
were going to beat me at some point, and just every time I logged on, waiting to see if it happened yet. So you were stuck on 8.9 for ages, and then you made a change of some kind, and then you hit 9.8 and then 12.9.
Mhm. Yeah, I went 8-9, and then I think I had a 9-5, and then I made the jump, or maybe I had a 9-7. I can't remember. It went 8 billion something, 9 billion something, and then all the way up to the 12-9 that I hit.
Yeah.
And it was interesting. Up until that point, I had never skipped a billion.
Huh.
So I'd made very steady progress all the way up. So I hit like one something, two something,
Yeah.
three something. I never skipped anything until I went and skipped 10 and 11.
I think
So,
Tim
but
Doney
your
is so
question,
far the
were you
only
going to ask?
person. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think Tim Doney is just a little George Wars trivia. I think Tim Doney is the only person to have hit 10 billion. Everyone else has jumped it to 11.
Oh, really?
And obviously he's now on
I guess
11 as
that's
well.
right.
But his
I had never
original
thought of that.
score was 10.4 or something. And sadly, that put him into second place. Because at that time, Silverlord and Nesserak had... no, Nesserak had 11. Silverlord was still on some lousy score. And then Tim Doney hit a 10. But anyway, that's by the by. What? Sorry.
I think you were asking me a question and I interrupted you with some.
Yeah, so I was just wondering, like, what change you've made to your strategy to get to the 12? Because
I think,
you,
I
you
think
had
what I had done is just watched the Silverlord's videos over and over again and tried to replicate his movement patterns. So before, I had taken the very comfortable strategy of moving more up and down on the board and not really venturing into the corners much. What I noticed Silverlord and Tim Doney as well when I watched his video that he's put up, or I guess he's put up a few now.
a couple, I
But
think,
they
yeah.
utilize, yeah, since the board is a rectangle, I noticed that they utilize like the edges more and make more lateral movements instead of just up and down. And I know Silverlord especially, he does a lot of that like figure eight type movement. It's kind of
Really?
hard
I haven't
to
noticed this.
describe with words, but when he's like shepherding the cloud, instead of like making a move and then going straight for another gate, he'll like do little S patterns while he's running away. And I
Huh.
think that keeps the blues central and gives him more room to maneuver around like the edges of the board. I don't know how he does it.
Yeah.
Like I would just watch it and try to sort of by osmosis take in what he's doing instead of actually understand all of
You can
his thought
guarantee now
process.
on my next run on YouTube, you'll see me doing random figure eights just all over the place.
And I might be butchering it. He can probably tell us better than I can what he does.
But whatever it
that's
is, it helps
sort of what I
make this
did.
breakthrough.
Yeah, I would just watch his videos, try to figure out what the heck he was doing to survive for so long. And I always noticed that people would get these massive chunks of slowdown in the upper billions, and I never really experienced that. Like even with my 8-9 or low 9 billion run, I would have like 2 or 3 gates worth of slowdown, and that's about it. Whereas Silverlord, I mean, as you can see from his 20 billion, obviously, and even before that, he would get into that mode, and then because of his movement, the blues would build up. He'd still have slowdown, but he'd be surviving just because he knows how to navigate the board at that late stage, and it's wild how he does it.
Yeah.
But that's really the big change that I made. Nothing super conscious. I just watched a lot of what he was doing and tried to emulate as best I could.
And since
This
then,
kind of goes back
you've
to our previous topic, I guess. But yeah, it's. Go
since
ahead.
then you've hit you've broken 10 billion a couple more times, I think.
I want to say 5 or 6.
Ah.
So I've got 2 12s. I think I've got 2 of each. So I hit the 12-9, the 12-6. I hit an 11-3, a 10-3, an 11-6, and I think a 10-4.
Right.
Unfortunately, none of them have been recorded. But
Well, clearly
I was telling Raincloud earlier before we started recording this, I'm getting a new phone this weekend that'll
Sweet.
hopefully allow me to record a little bit of stuff for you guys.
Well,
Yeah.
that would be awesome. I mean, I definitely feel like there's a gap in my knowledge about your post 12 billion sort of style. So that would be awesome to see, even if
Yeah.
it's being kind of warped by other influences.
That's definitely the case right now, but I think if I can consistently play, I mean, I don't play very often anymore, and when I do, I'm obviously trying to do what's working for the guys right now. So for Fever, that's the Geome and diving real deep into the cloud, and I see myself playing kind of like him, obviously not as well. But if I can muster up some consistency over here, hopefully my style will come back, and you can maybe see what I've done since I broke 10
Yeah, that'd be
billion.
great. I mean, when I'm starting to feel blue about things, as it were, then I just try to remember it is supposed to be a game, but I used to be pretty good at. And then I would find myself just letting the gates build up like crazy, and that's probably what I'm happiest about this game when we get gates build up, and I just get a chance to weave through them. It's so satisfying to get through that kind of situation. But these days I'm so conscious it's incredibly wasteful of geom and of gates. It's very inefficient, but
Well, it's fun to watch you do that. I think you have a very fluid style, and it's very distinctive when you see one of your videos go up, of how you just pick through tight packs of gates under a lot of pressure, better so than anyone else that I know.
But what the thing to watch when I do that is it's very focused when I'm doing that. Like I know I've got all these ideas where to go. I know what order I want to take the gates in, and new ideas are always presenting themselves. Then when I'm finished, I'm like, oh, fuck, what now? I just have no idea where to go next. Like those micro movements, I'm all over that. But the macro sense of the board, I feel like I'm no smarter today than I was 4 years ago when I picked up the game.
And that's definitely where the Silver Lord shines, and that leads itself to whenever the slowdown does hit, and he has all that time to think, he knows what to do. Whereas maybe you or I are just like, oh shoot, and just start running off to the nearest gate, and next thing you know, we're crowded out and dead.
Yeah,
and
in my 9 billion runs, generally the moment where I seal my doom is when I've got time to think, and it could be there are no gates, it could be there are suddenly no blues, and I'm not under pressure anymore. But the second my brain gets in the way, then it's game over. But you know, we mentioned him, whose style I'd love to see more of is Tim Doney. I feel like he's got such a unique style of the blues build up a lot, as I remember, in his runs, but he drags his ship against the side of the map in a way that no one else does.
Yeah, I remember the first time I saw his video, I went back and played and tried to do that, and it did not work at all. Like, I know why he's doing it. Like, he's using the wall as sort of a barrier to compact the blues on themselves.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating to watch. And I know one of his 10 billion runs actually died by implementing that strategy a little too forcefully, I think.
Died by
he
the
was
sword.
too long and then spawned in the corner, and he got snuffed out. But no, that is very, very interesting, and I would love to see some of his stuff too.
Yeah, I try and do this stuff when I'm circling like a pack of blues in the corner, and I find myself towards the edge. It will suddenly ping into my mind, Tim Doney. I mean, I'll just drag it, but I haven't got, again, really the understanding or the commitment to make it work. But at the very least, I'm happy to have kind of like a little nod to one of the greats in my videos. So if he's watching this one, then I'm sure both of us would love to see some more of his action.
Yeah. It's going to be fun to watch your runs in the future. You're going to dart into the corners, take out a ton of gates as an ode to concluded fever, do random figure eights for Silver Lord, and drag yourself along the wall for Tim Doney.
Mutant bastard.
Who knows? It could work. You'll run out of there with like 30 billion or something stupid like that.
That'd be nice. God, I tell you, I'd love to hit 10 billion before Geometry Wars 3 comes out.
Yeah, that's a great transition. What do you think about that whole thing? Have you seen any of the videos that have come out of the gameplay?
Yeah, well, it's still kind of unreal to me. Like it seems like it would never happen with the breakup of Bizarre Creations. So when it was suddenly announced, appropriately enough by Fever on the Geometry Wars forums, in my case, that's where I first heard about it.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, it was kind of unreal, and I still feel so committed to Geometry Wars 2. Like I barely scratched the surface of this game. There are still 5 more modes that I'm a complete amateur at, let alone Pacifism. But it's hard to even imagine playing Geometry Wars 3. But the only footage I've watched was by Foundations of Pause. He uploaded some gameplay of him at PAX playing it.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah, I can't really tell what's going on so much with the game. It looks nice, and I'm happy they've not tried to just improve what's there. They've really broken away from the previous look and given it a whole new sort of style. And it sounds like it's bursting with stuff, like 55 game modes.
Yeah, it's like a campaign is sort of the focus of the game now.
Yeah.
One thing that that I was a little worried about when that was announced. I know there are individual leaderboards for each stage, I guess,
Yeah,
um, and I feel like that might dilute the significance of the leaderboards if there are 50 individual ones, unless there's
yeah,
like a consolidated like overall leaderboard. That would be pretty cool. I mean, I doubt that'll be significant for me or someone of my caliber, but for someone like the Silver Lord or Black Machine, if he comes back, or Thor, or any of those guys that are going to be
yeah.
top in all the modes, I think that'd be really, really neat to have integrated into the game.
I'm slightly worried for the health of these guys if they try, and as they will, become absolute masters of 55 modes this time. So I think one day their brains will just be splattered over the screen as they try and incorporate all this information.
You guys
Yeah,
should become more simple-minded like us and specialize.
hermit crab style, just find a mode and live
One,
in
maybe two with a 50.
it.
50.
Two's pushing it, but yeah, maybe be a little
Yeah, that's
ambitious.
right.
Yeah, I feel the same way, and I'm also a bit concerned about whether the leaderboards are going to be shared across platforms. I don't know if that's even possible.
Oh, I hadn't thought about that. I guess I'd assume they would be, but maybe that would make sense if they weren't.
Yeah,
I have I have no intention of buying the Xbox One. I was thrilled when I learned that it was going to be offered on the
oh
360.
yeah, me too.
Because there's no way I'm going to spend that much money just for Geometry Wars
Yeah.
3, as awesome as that would be, since I'm going to be able to get it on the 360. But I would hope that they would be. I mean, I guess I don't really. We won't know until it's out.
Yeah, there surely will be. But I was a bit concerned about the dilution of it. There are other things. There are little questions I've got. I'm not sure if anybody knows this yet. One thing I always wondered about Geometry Wars 2 was how it would affect my game if it recorded every single score I ever had and gave an average, because it seems to me that the death of one of the really negative things about the Call of Duty franchise is the way it records all your stats. Because I mean, it's interesting in some
Hmm.
ways, but it means people become really conservative and try and conserve like, their KD or whatever. It seems to me anyway. That was the case in Modern Warfare 2, I think. So I was imagining in Pacifism,
Yeah.
would I become more conservative and not willing to try new stuff if my average is teetering on like exactly 2 billion or something? I don't want it to sink into one. Maybe I'm being crazy, but I was interested how that sort of
No,
stat would affect my game.
I've always been really curious about that kind of thing too.
Mm.
I majored in stats in college, so I'm kind of a whore for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
The average thing, I guess it would depend on what the leaderboard was based off of. I mean, obviously you're going to want the biggest score,
Mm.
but if I don't know, I just think it'd be cool to have that database to look and see like how many times you've hit a certain score, or as you said, the average, or like geom rates. All those kind of statistics would be really interesting, and I think they'd also be helpful for.
Yeah. I think
Um,
maybe it's just a testament to my lack of maturity that I'd be importing a Call of Duty mindset into this thing. I'm sure someone like Cowstore, for example, would be absolutely eating up like the use of this kind of data for improving his style, and the Silver Lord too. And did
he
you
could
see
probably
on
figure out
the?
how to program it.
Sorry.
I said he could probably figure out how to program it into the game right
Yeah,
now.
definitely.
He's pretty bright cookie.
Did you see on the forum a little while ago they'd worked out all kinds of stuff about the I think sequence. They've broken
Yeah, yeah.
down. Sorry, go on.
Oh man, I think our connections.
Yeah, it's starting to die. You can tell when that's happening when both parties just. No, yeah, you go. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I did see all that. I scanned it. I didn't really understand a lot of it. I thought it was really cool. It would take me forever to figure out stuff like that, and they're just pumping out all these stats.
Yeah,
And
I think it was a
I think,
Silverlord maybe mainly on that one. It was amazing. It's just the dedication
yeah,
to these modes is just incredible. But
and
one thing,
especially in the case of sequence when there's a ceiling
yeah,
that you can hit with score, figuring out how to milk the
yeah,
maximum amount of points for each stage. It's amazing how far those guys have taken it. And I think Fever just took the top spot recently, didn't he?
naturally.
The
Who else? Yeah,
uh, 386 or something like that.
yeah.
So
What is it? A three-way dogfight now? I think between at the moment anyway between Fever and Silverlord, obviously, and Pep.
yep,
Yeah,
yeah, that's it. I think it's It's wild. I know Chuck, I think, had that for a long time. And I think I saw someone post on the forum actually that was the record that had held the longest out of any of them.
Yep.
To score.
I just hit some geometry slowdown on Skype. Your voice went super slow mo. I think you were hitting 9 billion or something.
That's gonna sound awesome on the video. Could you
That's
understand
really
what I was saying?
dramatic. Really, really emphasizing this stuff. The longest record. Well, as
Wow.
for Skype, its connection starting to deteriorate, and we've been talking for like 25 minutes now. Maybe it'd be a good time to bring the recording to a halt and just see how this looks
Yeah.
on the
Give it a
recording.
test run on the YouTubes.
Yeah. So I will try and hit 25 minutes worth of worthwhile gameplay. This could take another year or so,
Yeah. Take your time.
or maybe just play two or three crappy evolved games, and that will be long enough, I guess. But anyway, it's been a real pleasure, FlyFry. Thanks a lot so much for coming on my channel, and
Yeah.
we should
Thanks
do
for
this again
having me.
sometime.
All the loyal Raincloud subscribers, how you doing? Thanks for sticking around and watching us both ramble on about video games.
And if any of you aren't subscribed to FlyFry, which is unlikely, but if not, then obviously that's the place for 10 billion plus runs. Stop wasting your time around here and go check them out.
Hopefully some in the future, and we'll see. But yeah, and I guess depending on how long it takes for you to get some gameplay, I might be able to throw some your way once I have new recording set up. I'll get some stuff and shoot it over there. So yeah, thanks again for having me on. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and one other thing I just remembered about Geometry Wars 3 is multiplayer. Apparently that's going to happen, right?
Is it
Online.
Is it online?
I think
Not just local?
maybe I'm talking nonsense, but I thought it was going to be both.
Oh,
So if that happens,
I haven't.
there's bound to be some potential there for some awesome videos. We'll find out the mode that we choose to live in, and we
Yeah, that's
will
right.
rinse that mode good.
Should be a lot of fun. I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to it.
All right, man. Well, I'm going to press stop now. So thanks everyone. I'm sure we'll be talking to you guys soon. See
All
ya.
right, adios.